All right.
Oh,
Yippee. Look
So
at this.
I'm going to start by telling you my memories of um, being with Debbie's family. And so we lived at 1192 Kensington Avenue, which is now, I understand, demolished. And down the street, we lived downstairs from Debbie, uh, Debbie's grandparents, my grandparents, and Debbie's grandparents on our father's side. And she lived down the street. Her father came out of the armed services and was lucky enough to get free college education. So they were very frugal and living in a garage that was converted to living quarters. And he was work. Uncle Bill was working really hard, getting his 4-year degree in math, and was going to be a math teacher. And I don't remember how old Debbie was when they moved to Oakfield, but quite young, maybe first grade, kindergarten. I don't know. But anyway, they moved to Oakfield because that's where he got a job teaching. And so from then on, Debbie and I wouldn't see each other very often. One of the first memories I have of when Debbie and I were little and she lived down the street was, and I think I mentioned this before, we'd sit on the front porch of where I lived and sing, if I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake, and Debbie would say, you're not singing it. And I would say, yes, I am. Those are the words. She said, no, you're not singing. What she meant was, I can't carry a tune, but she could. So I kind of figured that out pretty early in my life because people would say, stop, don't sing anymore. Let us sing. And then and the other thing I remember was first of all, the first memory of my Aunt Connie was, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. Ay, ay, ay. I think she was 10 years younger than my mother. I think Uncle Bill was 5 years younger than my father. So anyway, and she was blonde and she had this gorgeous figure and she was smiling and laughing all the time. And she just was so different than what I knew. And then, so then I was down at Debbie's playing. We would go, back and forth. And I was trying to get her all dressed up in a scarf and I was choking her to death at the same time. And I was sent home shortly after that. But that's kind of
My
the,
mother came running out. Karen, what are you doing?
I'm trying to get that scarf to stay on.
Let me say something here. The garage was behind the last house on the block, the same block as 1192. And it didn't have a yard, but it had a cement area outside the door. And when I look back and remember Karen and I playing from pictures, basically, because we were under 5 years old, so our memories are embedded in pictures rather than our real memory, and it felt like a huge, huge place, right, Karen? And when we went to visit it as an adult, it's like tiny. I mean, so small. And Karen and I both said, oh my God, I thought this was so big. It was an amazing moment. And it, it was, I mean, talk about perception. Anyway.
How old were you when you moved to Oakfield?
I can't remember when I went to kindergarten. I think you're right. I must have been 5, maybe first grade, because it took my father quite a while to get his bachelor's. And I was just thinking he must have had a job as well when he was going to school. how did they live? How did they?
I have no idea.
I don't
GI
either.
Bill, the GI Bill.
Yeah, but it didn't pay living expenses, did it?
I actually think it did pay.
Really?
Yes, the GI Bill was a sweet deal that let people get their degree quickly, where otherwise it would have taken a really long time and they would have had to work and go part-time. That's my understanding, but it would be interesting to look up the details. But
Okay.
that is what allowed people to do it.
Well, I was born in New Bedford, Mass. That's my father came home from the army when I was 18 months old.
I
They he was an officer, so they had a lot of cleanup to do. He wasn't discharged till he never saw me until I was 18 months old.
didn't know that.
And I have the picture in my bedroom the first time he met me.
What?
He was holding me. Yes, it
Go
was.
get it, please. I didn't know this. How did I never know this? This is why we're doing this.
Yeah, well, because I don't know, I'm not a celebrity, so you don't know about my every minute.
You're only my mother. And Nana didn't talk about it either. But I would like to see that picture. Which one is the one when he saw you first? I probably know the picture.
When he's holding me like this,
I do know that.
I'll run to get it while Karen's talking. But at any rate, so I think I must have been about 2 or 3 when we moved to Buffalo, Karen. That's what I'm guessing.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so we knew we were cousins, we knew we were related, and
Yeah.
and then you probably did move when you were 5 because you would have gone to kindergarten with me.
that's true.
Yeah, we would have walked together to kindergarten.
And
So
we didn't. We
so we
didn't.
went to kindergarten in Oakfield, and
Okay.
then they would come and visit. We never visited them. They always visited us because, of course, the grandparents were there,
Right.
and I believe they stayed with the grandparents upstairs. Is that where you stayed? I don't remember that part.
I don't remember that either,
But
Karen.
anyway, we grew up together, and
Did we stay overnight? Maybe we didn't stay overnight.
oh, maybe not. But we celebrated Thanksgiving together, and
And Easter, particularly, I remember the Easters, all
okay.
dressed up, and we were so anxious to be grown up, and we were fighting with our mothers about stockings. We wanted to wear hose instead of socks, and we wanted to wear lipstick, and they were having none of it naturally. And it's right about then when Karen and I discovered that we liked our feet tickled, so we'd lay head to foot in bed and tickle each other's feet.
Oh.
I still love it.
As we grew up and got older, Debbie and I would go walking, we'd go walk down Bailey Avenue, or, go shopping, or, just walk around. And whenever I was with Debbie, all the guys in the cars driving by would whistle and honk their horn, because Debbie had this voluptuous, gorgeous figure.
What I had big boobs, Karen. That's what I had.
And so she would get honked all the time. That's when guys would honk at you.
How
I
old
don't
were you
remember
then?
that.
Whistle. I don't think they do that anymore, but I don't know.
You don't
Anyway.
remember that,
Oh
Mom?
yeah, I'm 80 years old, right?
Wait, Mom, you don't remember that?
I don't remember being honked at there. I remember being honked at in Oakfield because I used to walk around the town a lot, and then I'd ride my bicycle around the town. And
When you were how old?
it was I didn't know how to handle it. I really didn't know. I just kind of ignored them and walked straight, and I didn't know what the fuck to do, And
Well,
Anyway.
Debbie was never without a boyfriend. Never.
That's news to me, Karen. I
Well,
remember.
It's
I
to me,
remember-
because I thought, how does she do that? How does she get a boyfriend all the time?
Do you remember Ronald Kowalski was my first boyfriend? I remember that in first grade, I think. Oh my God. And yes, I look back, I felt
5 years old.
I was so old and sophisticated. Can you imagine in first grade?
You were 6?
Yeah,
And you
6
had
years
boobs
old.
when you had boobs in first grade?
No,
No,
it's when
no,
we
no,
were
no.
teenagers.
But I guess I was like my mother. I was always a flirt, I guess. That's where I got it. So, Karen, do you remember the name Carlton Silvernail?
No.
He was,
Oh, Carlton?
yeah,
Oh, Carlton was my favorite boyfriend that she had. I thought he was gorgeous.
he was a Native American Indian. And
I remember the name. He was gorgeous.
I thought you would.
When you were how old?
Teenagers.
So
No,
now,
I
In
must
high
have-
school.
Yeah, I must have been a little older than that.
yeah, now it's a real boyfriend, not like a first grader.
It was a real boyfriend. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, Karen and I had grew up in very different environments. So I'll get to tell mine later. Karen, you go ahead and continue.
Well, my environment was, I was, my grandparents lived upstairs and, they were very distant. I never, ever, ever once remember my grandmother or grandfather saying, "I love you." I would go downtown with my grandma, maybe once in a while, and we would go to Hens and Kelly and I would always have a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich on lightly toasted bread with a cherry Coca-Cola. And my grandmother would say, the cherry Coca-Cola costs 5 more cents than just the plain Coca-Cola. You sure you want the cherry Coca-Cola? Well, I said, I like the cherry Coca-Cola. If you can do the 5 cents more, that would be great. That was my grandmother,
What was her name?
Eleanor.
Her full name?
Eleanor,
Wilhelmina Eleanor.
Last name?
Was it Shozy? No?
She was a Teddy, Theddy, made her maiden name.
and it was actually, really, it was Von Teddy. But when they came over here to this country, they didn't do the Von. They just said Teddy.
Oh, I didn't know that, Karen. That's
Yeah.
great.
Say
Yeah,
more about
That's what
that.
I was told. That's
Say
what I was.
more. What else do you know about that?
They never talked to me about their past or anything. I know nothing except that they, I don't think they liked each other very much. And, they moved here from Detroit. I don't know the details, but they owned the house. It was a double, upstairs, downstairs. We lived downstairs, and my mother was pregnant with me and having a very difficult pregnancy. And Betsy was handicapped, and she's 4.5 years older than me. So my mother was trying to take care of Betsy, and my father was working factory work, big Buffalo factory work place. And
Can you say your parents' full names too, please?
my mother's name was Grace Jones. I don't know if she had a middle name. And my father's name was Raymond Schulze. He had no middle name.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. So,
And when did,
so
when
they
did-
were so now my mother's in the hospital having me, and somebody had to watch Betsy. So they asked the grandparents to come and watch Betsy, which was going to be you were usually in the hospital maybe a week back then. They kept her for a week. Well, it so happened that my mother had a tumor that weighed more than I did.
Oh my God.
And they didn't diagnose it because it was clear and the x-rays went right through. They didn't know why she was getting bigger and bigger and bigger and in immense pain. So the end of the story is the doctor finally said, we've got to go in and see what's going on in there, even though the x-rays don't show anything. Something is going on with this woman 6 weeks after she's had this baby. She's huge. So we went in, they found the tumor. They took it out. And so now she had to recover from that. So it wasn't 6 weeks after, but she was in the hospital for 6 weeks. And
Oh my
my
God.
father lost his job because they were gone so long. So they moved to Buffalo upstairs from us.
Wow.
That's how I remember it.
Who
And so,
moved to Buffalo?
pardon?
Her
Who
parents.
moved to-
Eleanor and Willie. Our grandmother and grandfather moved from
Oh.
Detroit to Buffalo.
No. Go.
I was confused too, actually.
The grandparents were watching Betsy. They went from Detroit to Buffalo to watch Betsy while my mother was in the hospital.
And then they
Oh,
moved,
they did. Okay. So
and
they,
then they moved in to stay because your mother was sick.
Because
they
uh,
had to
because
have
Willie,
thought,
he
Karen,
lost his job.
Your
who
father.
lost his job? Your father.
Yeah.
No.
Willie.
Willie, our
Willie?
grandfather. Our
Oh,
grandfather lost his job because he was gone so long.
Oh,
gotcha.
well, go back a minute. Who bought the house and when? It must have been Grandma.
I
and
don't
Grandpa.
know, but they owned it. I do not know who bought it.
And
I
they-
don't know
and-
when, I don't know when they bought it, but they owned it.
Correct. And when they bought it, they moved into the bottom half. Because I remember when, and you guys, your family moved into the top half. And I remember when they switched because your father was going to open a business in the front.
Oh, yeah.
We were living downstairs long before he opened the business.
That could be true, but you originally lived upstairs.
Okay, I don't remember
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
So Grandpa got a job at Buffalo Forge,
Right.
right? And your father,
Wait, what was
your
Grandpa's name? Grandpa?
Willie,
Willie,
Thank you.
not William, Willie
Really?
Schultz. Yeah.
And when did he lose the Von of Thor? When did they drop?
When did they
What
lose
made
the what?
The store.
The Von part of the first name, last name?
When they were back in Detroit.
Yeah, but-
Their parents probably did it.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
wait. Their parents came here from
Yeah.
Germany,
Yeah, both of our grandparents were born in the United States.
but their parents came from Germany, and that's when they dropped that Von.
It was the first wave of immigration from Germany, which was a political move. They didn't like I think it was Bismarck. I'm not sure, but there was some autocrat who took over in Germany in the mid 1800s. And there was a very big immigration movement from Germany to America. So it was their parents who came then.
Okay.
There was another wave at the end of the 1800s of Europeans in general moving to the United States. A lot of Italians, particularly. So anyway.
So
whatever.
that's Willie's parents came from
Right.
Germany. So
Yeah.
what? Then they were Bon. How do you spell it? Bonn.
Von Teddy, probably Vontheddy, I would think.
OMTH. Okay. Then they just
I don't
became
know.
Teddy. Then they just became Teddy. But then how did it flip to Jones?
that was my mother.
Okay. So your father.
Grace Jones, do you believe that?
Grace
Everybody
Jones.
know the get the
Grace
hook there?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Karen, you get the hook? There's a famous singer named Grace Jones.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We should write this out because I am visual and I would like it written out, but I'm asking you names and stuff so I can do that. I can create like
Right.
a genogram, a family tree from it. Like,
Julie has a lot of that written out. I gave to her.
I got
My mother did a lot of work on that.
in
I gotta
visual.
find it.
Oh, I would love to see a photo of that. Like the,
Is it copyable, Julie?
Potentially, I could get it into a photograph. Yeah,
that'd be great.
and then copy it, shrink
That
it.
would be lovely.
I'll see what I can do for finding it.
You do that, and then Mom, you and I can work on one from your side, and then we'll put them together.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
So what?
So anyway, so Debbie and I, as teenagers or early teenagers before they moved to New York or on the East Coast, what happened was we would stay for a week at each other's houses. We would trade houses during the summer. So we'd have a whole week together at her place and then a whole week together at my place. And the problem was I liked going to her place. It was nice to get away from, what I was used to. And it was fun. And the only thing is Aunt Connie was very upset because I told my mother, I said, I love going there, but I throw up when I eat her food. It's so horrible.
oh my
And
God.
she didn't like that I would be going like that when I was having dinner there because her cooking was not to my sensibility. I thought she was the worst cook that I ever ate food from, and she was not happy with that. Do you
Wow.
remember this, Debbie?
No, I don't, but I can tell you that my mother used cooking as her way into everybody's heart. Okay. Her first thought waking up in the morning before she even put her feet on the ground was, what am I going to make for dinner? And
Mhm.
that's not an exaggeration.
Well,
And I just have to add a footnote here.
But she had really weird idiosyncrasies about the food she thought people liked and people didn't, like Filsel. She thought everyone loved that. Nobody liked it.
What is it?
We loved it, Lisa. Everybody
I
loved
didn't,
it.
and neither did who said the other day. Jenny didn't, I didn't. No, we all
Then
didn't.
why does Jennifer want the recipe?
Oh, then it was Susan who didn't like, or did you liked it? I thought you said you didn't like it.
What is it?
It's a
Oh.
potato thing. It's like a mashed potato salad. A mashed,
It has chunks in it. It has
it
celery
wasn't a
in it.
salad. It was
It has some
hot.
kind of vinegar or something. It was like,
Like a German potato salad?
no, it was like a twist on that with other crap in it. And I think it had meat, sausage or something.
No, bacon.
Bacon. Yeah, bacon. I don't know. It was gross.
And I have to tell you, I never knew my kids didn't like my mother's cooking. Everybody else loved my mother's cooking.
I only remember her cooking maybe 3 things. Honestly.
But she took care of you. She took care of you when we
You know
lived
what,
in.
you know what
in
I remember her feeding us that we liked? You'll never
Huh?
guess. Do you know the thing I remember that she fed us that we liked and loved, which she did when we got sick, which is probably why Susan was sick all the time. But
Was what?
alphabet pasta with cream cheese in it.
Macaroni and cream cheese and butter.
Alphabets, the little alphabet pasta, alphabets with cream cheese in it. We loved
You
it.
know, I was just thinking of that. I used to make that too. I was just thinking in the store, I haven't made macaroni with cream cheese and butter in a long time. We
That's-
all loved it.
The only other thing I remember Nana making, which she made every single holiday, it's the obvious, sauerbraten. And we got yelled at constantly, Auschwitten, Auschwitten, get out of the kitchen. And she was not nice
What?
when she was drunk, which was all the time. Well, she made sour.
I didn't hear anything you just said.
She made sour braten every single holiday. And it took a long time. And when you're little and you're curious, we weren't really allowed in the kitchen because we'd get yelled at to get out. And it was
Yeah.
like we'd get yelled at to get out. I remember the kitchen in Yorktown. It's kind of small, but all kitchens were kind of small then. But we'd get yelled at and want to like run around the table in the dining room or something. Couldn't do that. You're not really supposed to do that either. But anyway, but then it would be like she was cooking. I don't even know what she had to cook because I think it sits there a long time, doesn't it? Marinate.
Yeah, for days.
But what?
Yeah.
She's marinating and cooking it for days, but there's nothing to do. So it was a little perplexing. Like, what are you doing while you're like marinating? I don't know. But anyway, it's a mystery.
How mom felt about Connie's cooking is how I felt about Nana Grace's cooking, her mom.
Really?
Because she smoked. Mom would come home
Gross.
and she'd be tired and say, call Nana and see if we can go over there for dinner. And sometimes we would and sometimes we wouldn't. And we would open the door and there would be this waft of cigarette smoke with meat and some type of vegetable that was all cooking together. And I was just,
That's exactly the same thing.
I can't eat. I can't eat.
Julie, that's what we had. They all smoked
Yeah.
and drank. But
Uh-huh.
Mom, you say Poppy didn't drink, but Nana drank as she was cooking all the time. She drank the whole time. Now she wasn't always mean. Get out of the kitchen, because then when it was she had to decide, she'd come to us and like be boogieing, dancing, doing the monkey, doing the, all the songs she taught us. I told you the good one. Did you ever think when a hearse goes by that someday you're gonna die? Ooh. And she would get into that. Cover you up with the dirt and the rocks, and the worms crawl in and the worms crawl out. Oh, this was Nana's songs to us. Listen, the cat's a pissin'. Where, under the chair. Quick run, get your gun. Oops, too late, cat's all done. This is Nana. This is what she would teach us, and all the while she's doing the boogie with her hips, doing the twist and stuff. Yeah, she's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the famous dinners at 1192 when we would visit from Oakfield. As Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, yada yada.
So who cooked?
Eleanor.
And did you like her cooking?
She was a good cook, yes.
Did you like being there?
She wasn't a happy person. Right, Karen? She
wasn't happy, and Willie was not happy.
No, and happiness was not something that existed back then.
Wait, was Ray happy?
No,
Raymond?
Ray, my father ran around a lot with other women. That's what I know.
Really? So your mom, Grace, wasn't happy either?
Well,
maybe?
No.
My mom wasn't happy because first of all, she lived downstairs from these people that weren't happy and that didn't really care about their grandchildren or doing anything.
And she had a grandchild who had cerebral palsy.
Right?
She had a child.
Cerebral palsy, yeah.
Her daughter, right. And she had to care for her, and that's hard.
Yeah. She had no family except the father's family, because my grandmother was born in Georgia. And the reason that my mother got to Buffalo was because my grandmother lived near the railroad tracks. And at that time, there were no jobs. And so my grandfather would ride the railroad, and he got off where she lived, and they met, and he didn't have a job. And somebody told him, hey, there's lots of jobs in Buffalo. And there was. Buffalo was a industrial city. So they moved to Buffalo. She has no family. The mother and father died before I was born. So I had no other grandmother or grandfather except the ones upstairs who were very unhappy.
Do you know what they died from?
Yes, my grandfather died of kidney, high blood pressure, probably caused from kidney disease. And my grandmother died at age 52 from breast cancer.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So I didn't know either one of them. And I know my grandmother, Eleanor, said to my mother regarding Betsy when they found out she was handicapped, which was quite some time after she was born. It's too bad she just didn't die.
And the doctors wanted Nana to institutionalize her, like at birth or something, right?
Well, at that time, handicapped children were just being taken out of the attic, and they were, developing the handicapped, the Crippled Children's Guild was just being developed back in the 40s. And they took her to have physical therapy and, help. And every time she had to stay there. They couldn't take her there every day. That she had to stay there. And every time they went to visit her and they left, she screamed and cried and was horribly upset. So my mother couldn't take it. So they had to take her out. And I imagine my mother did the physical therapy at home that she was told to do. But and then she went to Crippled Children's School, or Crippled Children's, what did I just say? Crippled Children's
Cool.
Academy.
Association. But anyway, she went to a special school, School 84, just for handicapped children.
From home, though, which is pretty amazing.
Back in the 40s, yeah. And this was just starting to
Yeah, it
take
was.
care of handicapped children.
That's amazing. I have to say, I remember my Nana a lot. She had so much compassion for you, Karen and Betsy. She talked about you guys all the time, and how she always had, her heart was always with you guys, I will say. Nana always talked about you and told us and let us know this is someone, she would say, these are your relatives. They're wonderful and they have a very hard life, and this is why. And she was very compassionate.
Yes, she was. In fact, the one of the things I remember about Aunt Connie is that for most of her life, she took care of somebody. After she
Did.
After she and Uncle Bill were divorced, she married this other guy, and this other guy had a mother that needed taken care of. So
Yeah.
she took care of her, and then after that, then she took care of her own mother until her own mother died. And then
Lily moved in with them in New Hampshire. Yeah.
Lily lived with them, Buddy
Lily was in the Bronx,
Sheffer.
lived in the Bronx. And
Yeah.
my mother, Jenny remembers my mother, when I was working, my mother took care of my kids. Jenny, before she was in school all day. And Jenny, she used to take Jenny down to the Bronx and to see Lily. And Jenny knew the route. She became familiar with the route to the Bronx from Yorktown. Okay. So my mother was so amazed that Jenny was so smart.
the other thing I remember about your mother, which was I thought was a fascinating story. I was an adult, and your mother was looking for a job, and she went and she auditioned for this job. She went to this house, and she was supposed to do some cooking and stuff like that. And she was wearing a black top and a brown bottom, or a brown bottom and a black top. But she said the only way that you can make those together is to have a scarf that's black and brown. So she put the scarf on that's black and brown. She went to audition for the job, and she got the job because the scarf that she was wearing was designed by the person.
Vera.
Yeah.
Designed by Vera.
Vera.
I remember that really well. I knew you were going to say Vera right away.
And the other thing is that the reason she got the job was because she didn't mind their dog occasionally peeing and she having to clean up.
That's
Didn't
funny
in the
because
house.
we never had a pet. We had a cat when we lived in Barker. Oh, Karen, that's why.
You had a cat?
That's the missing link. we didn't move to Oakfield after Buffalo. We moved to Barker on Lake Erie.
Oh,
That's where I went to kindergarten and first grade. And that's where Debbie, Curious Debbie, it was a huge rural school district, huge, covered lots of towns, and coming when the bus when the
That's where
buses
you took the
lined up,
bus.
yeah, when the buses lined up, it was like a half a mile of buses lining up to take these kids home. So I very quickly noticed that my bus driver and the one behind him or before him, I think, were they looked the same. They looked exactly the same. So I wonder, well, what'll happen if I get on that bus instead of my bus?
So she did.
So I did. And he let everybody off. And here I am. I remember I was in the back of the bus.
Oh, God.
And he said,
Who are you?
who are you? So they went back to the bus place, and evidently I said, I just wanted to know where you went. Did you go to my house? Because you look just like my bus driver. Oh my God. Anyway, my mother was frantic. I wasn't on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
She went crazy. Finally, they got in contact with each other, and the bus driver took me home. And I must have been given, she must have screamed bloody murder at me.
Oh my God.
Because I'll tell you, I'm not sure I was ever curious about anything else the rest of my life.
I think you were, but okay.
She ruined it.
Oh, I don't know.
Like
about
she
that.
ruined most of my life, but that's all right. That's
my
another
God.
story.
I think it might be the
So we
same
were in
person.
Barker, and then, oh, I remember wait till you hear this. They went to a costume party in Barker, and
Nana and
my father went as Adolf Hitler.
Poppy. Yep. And he could pull that off, I bet. Like,
He was hysterical. Of course, we think very differently about that
it was
now.
funny then. Yeah. Not anymore.
Karen, do you remember the house in Barker that had the room upstairs was rented by what was kept by the owner of the house, and she would come occasionally, and it was always such a mystery. What is up there? I think my mother let us go up there and play doctor.
Well, what
I
was up there?
swear. Huh?
What was up there?
A furnished bedroom and bathroom for the woman who owned the place. She didn't rent that part out. She rented just the downstairs of the house.
Oh,
Do you remember Mrs. Peacock, Karen?
no.
And Nana
Our
let you
next
guys up into her apartment?
what?
Nana let you guys up into her apartment?
I think so, or we snuck up or something.
How interesting.
Again, this is before, right around the time that memories are formed.
Yeah.
I remember Mrs. Peacock. She had real peacocks in the yard.
She did.
Okay, real ones.
And her name was really Peacock?
No,
Oh, so that's why you called her Mrs. Peacock, because she had a peacock.
correct.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and it's at that house that David broke his leg.
How old was David when he broke his leg?
4.
I thought he was 4 or 5.
No, he's actually he might have been 3.
How did he break his leg?
The house was on a main road, and the land the house was sunken and flat. Okay, so if you want to get up to the road, you have to go up this big incline. And it was, it was
Treacherous. He fell.
right. We were outside, and here's the thing, okay, about memory. And my entire life, I thought I was the one that broke David's leg. My entire life, until I went to a shrink after divorce number 1 and asked my mother how that whole thing happened. And she said he was climbing up that thing.
Yep.
And getting near the road, and my mother hollered at him and he fell. And I was there, but I wasn't nearby. So in my mind, I tackled him and broke his leg. God only knows why, but I didn't.
How old were you then?
Well, he was 3, 7. So I was like in first grade.
Second grade, maybe even. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And he went to the hospital. He stayed in the hospital for weeks, Karen, with his legs in traction,
Jesus.
laying on his back with his legs in traction. Can you imagine? I don't think they do that anymore.
Why even? He
To reset that, they did that to reset the bones way back when, if it was a bad fracture.
Yeah.
That is
So of course that was a big thing in his life and my mother's. And I remember going to the hospital with her, and right next to the waiting room where the patient's room, and there was a child who was dying of leukemia and did nothing but cry, sob, shout, was in terrible pain. I'll never forget that. Never forget that.
Yeah, that's horrible. And
So I'm sorry we went off on my memory.
Well, it's yours, but it's also like, it's important. And it was Nana and you and David, and Poppy was working. But, David listened to that in the hospital, listened to a young child. Like, can you imagine being, for one, in pain yourself?
I could barely listen when I was in the waiting. I couldn't go in to see David. I was too
poor
young.
David was stuck listening to that
So I had to sit
by
in the
himself.
waiting.
Very, very traumatizing for a child
Terrible.
David's age. So that's something kind of amazing that I never knew happened. I think we have to close, you guys. We're up to an hour if this is good. But I am so grateful for all of this stories. I'm really happy we recorded it.
Just to relate, Julie has some homework to do, to make some copies somehow and get them to you. And if we want to resume this another time, we'll resume it another time.
It would be lovely.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Okay.
Let's try to do it every month.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's just